Hey guys, and thanks for stopping by my channel. So today is another horror movie series. And in today's horror movie series, we're going to be talking about werewolves. Now, werewolves are my favorite monster. I don't know if it's because they're like animalistic and I love animals, but with werewolves, you really can go in any direction. You can get quadruped werewolves where they are on all 4 feet, or you can get bipedal werewolves that are on 2 feet. You can have werewolves that are good guys, like in the movie Twilight. You can have werewolves that are bad guys, like in basically every other werewolf movie out there. Point is, werewolves are versatile and you can go a lot of different places with them. I unfortunately have seen a lot of bad werewolf movies, and that is such a waste because werewolves have so much potential to have a lot of screen time. Anyways, I'm going to be talking to you about 2 of my favorite werewolf movies and why I think they're so good. They're not necessarily newer movies because unfortunately Hollywood likes to spew out the crappiest ones, but I do go through them all to find you guys the best ones. So, my number 1 werewolf movie is also one of my most favorite movies. It's definitely in my top 5. This movie is actually not that well known. It is a small budget Canadian film called Ginger Snaps. Now, if you've never heard of it, but you are a horror fan, you need to see this movie. There is a sequel and a prequel that do it no justice. If you watched Ginger Snaps, the original, I do suggest watching the sequel just so you can kind of see how they end things, but the prequel was utter trash. Trust me, it's utter, I wouldn't steer you wrong. In Ginger Snaps, what's interesting is how they go about telling the story. They liken werewolfism, see what I did there? Lycanthropy, werewolfism. Okay, I'm sorry, I had to. They liken werewolfism to getting your menstrual cycle. And what I mean by that is they find comparisons like it only happens once a month and your body starts to change and that kind of stuff. So you're probably thinking, okay, how do they do that? Well, this is a story about 2 sisters who are prepubescent and do not want to get their periods. I know, it's weird. They're kind of weird, but in a good way. So when one girl is a little bit older, so things start to happen to her, it scares them both. And let me tell you, do not sleep on this movie. It is a very good movie. In all my horror movie series, I am going to tell you if they are scary or gory. Do I think Ginger Snaps is a scary movie? I think there are a couple of intense scenes in this movie, one in the beginning and one at the end. Scary is... I have a hard time telling you if things are scary. I want to say it's a little scary, but worth it. Definitely worth it. Is it gory? I do not recall there being any excessive gore. There might be a little bit of blood, but not really gory. This movie is so incredibly good. I have seen it many times. It has been a while, but I need to see it again because they just don't make good werewolf movies. Okay, moving on. Now we're going to talk about my number 2 werewolf movie. And this movie is completely different. In Ginger Snaps, the wolf is a quadruped, and I'm glad that they show it because a lot of werewolf movies don't even show the werewolf, or they show really quick flashes because, you know, the werewolf looks like crap. And I understand it takes money to make a good werewolf, but this movie does show the werewolf, and at first, when I first saw it, I was kind of like, eh. But then when I watched it again, I was like, you know what? I like it. I think they did a good job with what they had, and I support them completely. In the second movie that I want to talk about, it is a bipedal werewolf, so they're on 2 legs, and this movie is called Dog Soldiers. This movie is about soldiers that get kind of trapped by werewolves, and my problem with this movie was the actors, they did a great job. They have thick accents. They have a thick UK accent. I can't remember if it's Scottish or what, it's been a while. But after I watch, you know, the more you watch it, the more you kind of follow the cadence and the way that they pronounce things, and it gets easier to watch. So don't let that throw you. Please watch this movie in its entirety. It is definitely worth it. It's more of an action, it's got more action in it, and it is very good. But my favorite part of this movie is most horror movies, the victims are usually idiots. Like, what I mean by that is they run and they trip and they fall. They can't start the car because they can't get the key in the ignition. And I understand that because, you know, you're scared and it's a freaky, stressful time. But it happens in every horror movie. Like, I've seen so many and it's just like, but why? So, I know. Tiffany, calm down. It's gonna be okay. In this movie, and I'm very anti-spoiler, okay? I don't want to spoil anything, but I have to tell you, there is a very brief scene where a soldier gets trapped in a kitchen with a werewolf. And that guy gives that werewolf hell. He does everything. I think he shoots him, he punches him. I think at one point he throws a frying pan at him. My point is, the guy doesn't give up. And I love that. And it was so refreshing to see that in a horror movie, because usually they just run and fall and forget how to move, run away, forget how to fight back, that kind of thing. So that particular scene always sticks out in my mind. And for that, Dog Soldiers, I thank you. Very good movie. Definitely highly recommend. Okay, so those are the two movies that I really, really love as far as werewolf movies. Did I miss anything? I mean, I'm only doing 2 movies per video to keep them short. There are other ones, of course. But what do you guys think? Have you seen a werewolf movie that you absolutely love? Please tell me in the comments below. I've probably already seen it, but maybe you'll surprise me. Who knows? I'd love to hear it. Also, in this video, I have a couple bonuses for you. If you like werewolves, then you know the best part is the transformation scene. So, in transformation scenes, it's difficult to portray because, you know, you're basically taking a human form and turning it into a wolf or a wolf-man hybrid grotesque creature. And how do you do that on screen? You know, sometimes movies will completely use CGI and also anatomically completely ruin it. Like in the movie An American Werewolf in Paris. In that movie, not only are the CGI werewolves terrible to look at, but they also bend their knees backwards because apparently whoever decided this didn't understand anatomy at all. And a lot of werewolf aficionados, such as myself, were like, what the heck is that? That's not even right. It is difficult, and some werewolf movies never even show it because it costs too much money. But I have 2 there's more than 2, but I picked the 2 that I think are the best, and I'm actually going to link them down below. They are on YouTube. If you just want to see the transformation scenes, I will link them down below. They are intense. Do not be mad at me if you don't like it, but they are really well done. The first one is An American Werewolf in London, the original American Werewolf in movie. The Paris one is a sequel. It had a good premise. It was poorly executed. But the original American Werewolf in London, while it is not my favorite werewolf movie, it is definitely a cult classic. A lot of people like this movie, and the transformation scene is amazing. I can't remember what year it was made. It was either late 70s or early 80s. Regardless of what year, it was before CGI, and they had to do real life special effects. And they did an amazing job. They showed anatomically what would, you know, theoretically happen if you were to turn into a werewolf, and it is just amazing. So that's going to be linked down below. Also, there is a TV series on Netflix. It's called Hemlock Grove. Now, that show is not going to be on my horror series videos for many reasons. It's a very strange show. I personally like it, but it's not going to make any of my lists. But the transformation scene in season 1 was amazing. So the werewolf in that movie turns into a wolf, whereas an American Werewolf in London turns into like a gross kind of hybrid creature. Personally, I like when they turn into wolves myself. And I do believe they use a real wolf in this show as opposed to a dog. It grinds my gears when a werewolf movie uses dogs as werewolves. Like, we can tell. It's not a wolf, it's a dog, okay? If you can't get a wolf or a wolf hybrid, don't use a husky, okay? Just, anyways, Tiffany, reel it in. In Hemlock Grove, the werewolf scene is amazing. It's a very different approach to the transformation scene, but it is so well done. It is kind of gross, but so I will say there's a little bit of gore in that one. But American Werewolf in London is kind of gross too. It's not gory, it's just grotesque. But love them both, okay? And if you're a horror fan, and you haven't seen these, you need to see them. So I will link those down below. So that's it. That's all I have on werewolves. I could go on and on about werewolves, honestly. But I want to try to make these quick and bite-sized for you so I don't bore you to death. So what did you think? Did I miss anything? Let me know in the comments down below. Have you seen any of these shows or movies? What did you think of them? I'd love to hear all your comments. I want to keep my channel interactive as much as I possibly can, but I can't do that without you guys. So anyways, thank you guys for hanging out with me on this horror movie series, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.